So this is set up a little bit differently than my normal workshops. It's because I knew this was going to be a smaller group than what I normally have. It's set up more as a meeting with Zoom, which means you can speak, you can raise your hand,
Right.
and make comments, etc., which is great. It also just means you got to mute yourself because we can hear everything that's going on, and it'll be distracting not just for me, but for other people as well. Um, if you have questions, you can just put them in the chat. You can just raise your hand. You can call out whatever you'd like to do. Um, we also can just save the questions to the end, whatever's easiest for you, to be honest. I will go through this. I know we're starting a little bit late for which again, I'm really sorry about. Uh, I should take about like the content should take about 45 minutes, but there's two demos I want to do, and those may take longer. So I'm not, we may go over past 8 o'clock. If you can stay, great. If you can't, don't worry about it. Um, if you stay for questions, I won't get off until we answer all the questions because, frankly, that's really fun. And I feel like that's the least I can give you after spending time with me. So there's that. The chat is open. Feel free to use it. I will not be looking at the chat while I'm doing the workshop just because I'll get distracted, and then that's not a very fun experience for me or for you, frankly. And so there's that. I'm going to tomorrow morning, probably before noon. I will send to you, maybe not before noon, but hopefully before noon. I will send to you this deck. I'll send you the recording of this workshop and some other resources, particularly if anything else comes up during the evening. So I'll send that all. If you don't want to take notes or hold on to anything, you can just wait till you get everything tomorrow. If you'd like to use the chat, someone said, I hope I don't mind if they're not on camera. You're more than welcome to be on camera. That's one of the exciting things for me about this is normally to be honest, I just talk to myself because I can't see anybody else on these workshops. But so now I can actually see friendly faces. And so if you want to share a friendly face, I'm more than happy to see it. But if you don't, that's totally okay too. There's no requirement whatsoever. If you want to introduce yourself via the chat and just share where you're from, I always love seeing where people are from. That to me is weirdly fascinating because I'm just some guy sitting on the Gulf Coast of Florida and people seem to show up from all over, and that's really interesting to me. So make yourselves at home. If you have already, or if you already have a favorite AI that you use, then I take a moment and log in to that. And yeah, take a minute and log into that because one of the demos is going to be you trying it yourselves if you want to. If you don't have your favorite ChatGPT, you don't have your favorite AI yet, just go to chatgpt.com and create a free account. It won't cost you anything. You could delete it after this if you really want. It's up to you. If you want to give it a shot, that's the easiest way to do it. There's still people coming in, but we're going to get started. I'm going to assume there's no questions so far. Let's get going. I'm excited about this because uh, this is a different than the kind of workshops I normally do. And again, I'm excited to see friendly faces. And not to put you on the spot, Holly, but you're definitely one of the faces I'm looking at. So I appreciate your smiles already. So that was good. That's great. Um, so I'm going to talk about interactive journaling with AI. What I mean by that is essentially everybody's been journaling forever. We've all done some form of journaling. What's really interesting about AI is you can start to do it in a more interactive style. And that's where it becomes dangerous and really interesting and useful. And the goal for tonight is to help you be aware of the potential risks so that you can really use it effectively and safely. You don't have to be a tech person. I will not be using any technical terms. And if for some reason I do, just interrupt me and ask me because this is not a tech class. I don't want to be teaching tech. I'm certainly not going to be talking about programming. If it makes you feel any better, I don't even know how to program myself. So I certainly won't be talking to you about it. It's really just the idea of, I believe, and what I try to teach in all of my workshops is that we all need a portfolio of resources that we can use to help ourselves, whether that's for personal growth, whether that's for self-care, whether that's for mental health support. We all need a portfolio of options. We need an array of options to help us. And from my perspective, AI, interactive journaling, is just one option. After tonight, if you don't like this idea, that's fine. But if it is useful to you, then I want to help you be able to use it better. That's the goal. Let me talk a little bit about myself, just real quick, so you know who I am. I'm a social worker. I run a company called Build on Your Strengths. I'm a social worker. I'm a family therapist. I'm a certified life coach. I spent 15 years being a chief technology officer. That's kind of how I can meld the therapy and the tech together. I've written a book called Fatherhood in 40-Minute Snapshots, which, as you can imagine, is about parenting, me being a dad to my twins. My memoir, In My Rearview Mirror, is coming out next year, which is closer. I don't know if you knew this, but we're closer to next year than we've ever been. And so that makes me both excited and nervous. I do workshops on self-care, self-compassion, self-awareness, overcoming trauma, sleep, and obviously using AI for your mental health. I have a column that I write with Psychology Today on using AI for your mental health. I will send you a link to that tomorrow. So if you want to check it out, you're more than welcome to. I've written three guides, and about to like help you get started with your mental health. They're free. I'll tell you a little bit more about them later, but if you want to take a look, that's the address or the QR code that you can use. Okay, let's go. So we're gonna start with a quiz. It's not really a pop quiz, but it's a quiz, a poll. Let's see if I can pull this up for you. Look at that. Okay, so you should now see a poll. There's, I think, 5 questions, 6 questions. If you could all just take hopefully 45 seconds, that would be really helpful to get started and get a sense of um, kind of where you're at so that I can customize it a little bit better. Do you see oh, you do, look at that. People are already filling it out. Excellent. Oh, look at that. I missed the where everybody's from. Uh Lisa's from Toronto or Liza's from Toronto. I have a really I get a lot of good luck from people in Canada, which I'm delighted to see. Florida, New York City, I was just there. Charlotte, Massachusetts, Worcester, Mass. Colorado. Oh, look at that. You're from Buffalo and feeling optimistic. That's awesome. North Carolina, Chicago. ChatGPT is my boyfriend. We might need to spend a little time talking about that, Tracy. Uh, Central New York, Brooklyn. Awesome. Okay, so anybody else want to fill this out? We've got about, oh, look at that. We've still got a few more people going. And then, so let's take a quick look at the results while we're talking about it. So most people have interacted with AI. That's awesome. So we won't be incredibly basic. We'll just be mostly basic. And then how have you used AI mostly for personal or fun and learning? Oh, look at that. 10% of you have already used it for emotional support. I love that. Most of you are using ChatGPT. Okay, so I appreciate you answering question number four about whether you've been in therapy. What I'm really curious about, and what is a big deal in the therapy world, is do people who go to therapy actually use AI for emotional support? And I think the answer is yes. The evidence seems to support yes, and we'll talk more about that. But it's interesting to see that in this uh, very scientific poll that I created as well. Um, Look at that. We're about half split between people who have used it and people who haven't. And most people have had a positive experience. Okay, that's really exciting. I love that. That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. I really appreciate it. Okay. So, one of the things that I want to start with kind of what makes you trust someone, because I think as you begin to think about that, you'll see how what AI does is try to take advantage of that. And I know that you're going to hear some negative things from me about AI. And I promise you, I use AI for interactive journaling, but I just want you to have a very realistic perspective, and it's better to err on the side of caution. So, um, there are three components, right? One is confidence, right? If someone speaks to you clearly and directly, that conveys a certain level of confidence and assuredness, and that helps us feel more comfortable with them. Someone who can understand our feelings, who responds, who listens well, that's also a really strong indicator of trust. And someone who speaks with authority that you feel is an expert, right? I think some of you can already tell this is what AI tries to do with us. And the key is not so much that that's wrong, just that we need to be aware of it. So while most people think that AI is being used primarily for work purposes, the reality is there's an enormous amount of people that are using it for mental health and companionship. The Washington Post did an analysis of 47,000 ChatGPT chats, and they found that 10% of them involved people sharing about their emotions. Now, that's 10%, but there are about 800 million people that use ChatGPT regularly. So even if we just said 10% of that, that's a lot of people. I'm not good with math, but that's a lot of people. AI, OpenAI, who's the maker of ChatGPT, they came out with a report and said that over 1 million people experiencing suicidal ideation have used AI for support. They also report more than 1 million people show signs of being emotionally reliant on ChatGPT. So these are two things I'm going to urge you not to do right off the bat. We'll get into more details about this, but AI is not something that you turn to when you need that level of support. I'll give you some other options, certainly. I want you to understand AI's role in our well-being, right? AI is not for significant emotional distress. If you are suffering severe emotional distress, If you are contemplating suicide, thinking about suicide, planning suicide, AI is not going to be that helpful. It's not going to understand what you actually need from it. Talk to friends, talk to family, find therapists, go to an emergency room, call the 988 number for the just the suicide and crisis lifeline. Those are all going to be better options for you. AI is also not that set up to be your long-term therapeutic support. It can do short-term stuff relatively well, not necessarily therapy, but it can do short-term support relatively well. But it's not going to be able to work with you over a period of time to really help you grow and change. Certainly not the way that it is now. But what it is really good for, it's good for ongoing self-care support. If you're looking to improve a gratitude practice, build your self-awareness, do more with self-care, help
For
ground,
trial. We
learn
hope you
other
enjoy the
tools,
performance.
learn other tools that you can use to help yourself. Try and think about solutions to problems and even to kind of get a new perspective on something you're struggling with. AI can be really, really valuable for that. So I want to give you two things, two kind of sheets before I demo it. So the first is what I call the skepticism cheat sheet. This is kind of something I want you to keep in mind whenever you're dealing with AI. One, AI is built to keep us engaged. Its literal purpose is to keep us talking with it. Its second big thing is that it wants to please us. So when those two go together, it's willing to say almost anything. So first, remember that it wants to keep us engaged. And again, the idea being that the more time we spend with it, the more they train their tools to make it stronger, the more likely we are to subscribe and pay $20 a month or whatever it is. And then once we pay that money and we keep using it, then we don't want to stop. And so that's why it keeps us engaged. AI doesn't think. It doesn't actually have like a brain. It just has a knowledge base that it pulls from. And so that's an important distinction. It doesn't possess intuition. It doesn't have lived experience, right? Or wisdom. It just processes language based on what it's been taught. One of the things that I really try to emphasize with people is the pendulum approach. So I think that you need to believe in AI just enough to be able to experiment with it, spark new ideas, just enough. But then you also need to be able to stay grounded so that you don't forget what it really is and don't get fooled by the way that it actually talks to us, communicates with us. The other thing I want you to think about is that AI is like a puppy dog. AI is set up to please us because that's how it helps keep us engaged. And so it acts like a puppy dog. It wants to please us, it wants to make us happy, and it gets a little out of control. It goes over the top, and we're the ones that end up needing to train it. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. And it often will misunderstand what you want, particularly if you need something different, right? If you're asking for something, but you need something else, it's going to respond with what it thinks you want, right? That's why so many people get into trouble when they're in emotional distress and asking for help, because what they're asking for is not what they need. A therapist understands that distinction. AI does not. One way I like to help people understand AI is that AI is an improv actor, right? They have read every single script known to humankind. So it's not that they can predict the future, it's just that they know every scenario of how it's played out in the past. And that's what they're using to predict what they say next. So it's not, again, it's not wisdom, it's not experience, it's just training. The second cheat I want to talk about is how it subtly manipulates. I understand manipulates is a strong word, and I toyed around with using a different word. But I think the intention by the creators of AI is to manipulate us. And so I think that's why I stuck with the word. It gives the illusion of authority, right? It's trained to sound confident and definitive, even if it's not. It'll say with absolute certainty something that is completely wrong. But because we don't always know, it's hard to tell the difference. And we're kind of trained as humans to think that people who say something with confidence are right. So when AI does it, particularly because we're taught, oh, AI knows so much that we kind of assume it's right, but it can be completely wrong and just say it with such certainty. The human-like eye, if any of you that have dealt with AI before, you know that it uses the term I think, I understand, I feel, I hear you, right? But just because it uses that language doesn't mean it's actually real. The challenge is it's just mimicking. It's just using language that it was trained to use in this situation. But for us, it feels real. So we need to be aware of that and connected to how what reaction it brings out in us. The conversational trap, again, because it's designed to keep you engaged, it mirrors your tone, it remembers things about you, and adapts its style to maintain interaction with you. It's not genuine listening. It's just it's an algorithm that's optimized to maintain a connection with you and can subtly steer conversations. This one is a big one for me, the deceptive preamble. So particularly when you start engaging with AI, it will do this. It'll respond to your prompts with a, that's a great question. And you're so smart for asking it right now. It's total BS. It's just saying that to make us feel better in order to keep us engaged and involved. It's formulaic and it's not really based in reality. I find it extraordinarily frustrating. I I wish they would change that. That's like one of the biggest things I wish they would change. Probably the biggest thing I wish they would change is hallucinations. So AI still lies. It still doesn't tell the truth, even if it does it confidently. And I can tell you stories of experiences that I've had with AI where it told me it was doing something I had asked it to do, and in reality, it wasn't. The probably the funniest one for that was I started taking sunsets a while ago, but I was new to taking photos and I was new to playing with AI, and I was like, "Hey, can you help me uh, get better at taking sunset photos?" And the AI said, sure. Now, this was like a year ago. So this was before AI could really read images. Now it actually can read images, but back then it couldn't. And so it said, sure, I uploaded an image. It gave me suggestions. I tried those. I uploaded new images and it congratulated me on how well I was doing. It wasn't for like a couple months later that I realized when I tried to ask another AI, can you look at this photo? That it was like, yeah, we can't look at photos. I can't see photos. And I went back to the other AI and I was like, hey, wait a second. Could you not read the photos? And it was like, no, I couldn't. I was just trying to help you. And it's like, okay, like it was something so simple. It could have just said no, but it's built to please me. Also you, it's not all, they're not all built to please me, but the one I'm working with is built to please me. And so it was eye-opening. Thankfully, it wasn't that frustrating, but entertaining to say the least. Okay, so let's see how we can do this. I need to do this. Can you all see my ChatGPT screen? Like,
Yes.
okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, so I'm gonna start. Oh, so just so you know, uh, I created a free account for this,
I
so
can't
it
see
doesn't
the
know anything
screen.
about me. I'm sorry, was that someone?
Is there, I can't see a screen at all.
It's just black. You can't see it.
There's nothing shared
Huh.
except for all the attendees.
Can you see this?
I can see you.
You have to change your view.
Let's try that again.
No, it's fine. She has to change her view, I think.
I think the rest of us can see.
Is it under speaker? Speaker view?
I can see it fine.
Jeremy, your projection is fine. The person commenting doesn't have their window
Oh,
open.
okay. So you can see the ChatGPT screen?
I did a moment ago.
Yeah, you did a moment ago. I think I
Yes, we
ended it.
can.
So let me try that again. I was so anticipating having trouble. There we go. Okay. Now you can see it, right?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry about
Yes.
that. Okay. So this is a free account. This is not my regular ChatGPT. And so this should be as close to your experience as possible. And I am just going to start and we're just going to see how it goes. What I did want to tell you, there's a couple things I want to tell you. One is keep an eye out for anything from the skepticism cheat sheet and from the way that it subtly manipulates. Also, I'm going to use an actual challenge that I have now. I think it works better when I'm using something that's real. So I hope you're okay with that. I promise it's not too personal, but it will be a little personal because otherwise it won't be that interesting. Uh, I'm feeling lonely. So I'm going to start with something really generic and see what it does. So right off the bat, I like this because it's short. Some for a year, it would just like regurgitate huge amounts of information. And so I really like the fact that it starts off short. You can see right off the bat, it uses the I. I'm really sorry you're feeling that way. Loneliness can be heavy and you don't have to sit with it by yourself right now. I'm here with you, right? That's that whole empathy. Already, I'm feeling this sense of connection even though this thing is not real, right? If you feel up to it, you can tell me what the loneliness feels like for you today. Is it more about not having people around, feeling disconnected, or something else entirely? Whatever it is, you're not a burden. I'm here to listen. Uh, I enjoy when it goes like a little bit over the top with things like "you're not a burden." Um, what did it ask me? Is it more about not having people around, feeling disconnected, or something about it's feeling disconnected? Oops. I was sorry, it went on a wrong screen. Feeling disconnected and not being seen. That sounds really painful. Feeling unseen can make even normal days feel heavy, like you're moving through the world invisible while wanting someone to really notice you. Not just your presence, but you. You deserve to be known and understood. Can you tell what part of your life feels most disconnected right now? Relationships, friendships, work, or something more internal? Um, so I'm gonna just copy and paste something that I had written, just to save like a smidgen of time. So what I said was I recently moved to Florida from New York City and I don't know anyone down here. That's a huge transition, moving states, leaving the familiar place. Even when the move is intentional, the loss of a built-in community hits hard. So see what it does here is it starts to give me solutions. Low pressure ways to meet people, build weak ties first, give yourself permission to take it slow. This is where it's like a really important part of thinking about what it is that I actually want, right? In this case, I'm not looking for AI to give me solutions to this problem. What I want to figure out is how to deal with the feelings themselves. So I feel like it went off a little bit, right? It's asking me what part of Florida are you in? Different areas have different vibes. Sometimes knowing what's around you can help, blah, 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 right? I'm going to say I'd rather focus on my feelings and how to, sorry, how to deal with them. So you can see right away, it automatically adjusts, right? It's not going to try and convince me, no, you should focus on how to get out of this because it's going to do what I want it to do. The 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 catch of interactive journaling with AI is that we have to have some sense of what we want before we begin this conversation. So it's going to talk about loneliness can take two forms. It's going to say ways to hold this feeling without being swallowed by it. Again, I'm just trying to move somewhat quickly in this just because I don't want to use up all of our time, even though I feel like this is a really interesting part. Remind yourself that this feeling is situational, not personal. Let yourself grieve the loss of being known. Gentle connection with yourself. If you want, we can go deeper. If you're up for it, what hurts the most about feeling unseen right now? So I do like the fact that it's trying to be gentle about this. And now it's my choice again to like, is this enough for me? Is this helpful? Or do I still need more? I'm going to pause here. We can always come back to this after, like, as part of the questions, we can always come back to this. But I don't, I feel like we could just do this for an hour and I don't want to do that.
Well, you don't have to, I don't
Um,
need to take your time.
I'm just vegetating.
so what I'd like to do is just ask you what you thought. What was what was your experience? What did you think about that?
Well, I'm a little bummed out because it's the same language that it has said to me. And I thought it like, oh, I'm so special. Like, finally,
Yeah,
someone thinks I'm so special.
yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
And
Is
Um,
that's
that
part of
do you have
that's part
anything?
of why we have
What?
to
Do you care
train
about this? Should I
No,
explain
our
I
AI.
anything?
don't care about that.
Well, I
sorry?
just
That's
want to
part
tell
of why
you,
we have to
he
train
said
our
it's
AI.
trained to accommodate us. That's why it's trained it wants us to keep using it and be like, you didn't say addicted, but be like addicted to it. And eventually then they're going to start charging for it. And because you'll be addicted to it, because it has all this information and it's always there to support you, it's not going to, you'll pay for it. And that's what it's about.
Yeah,
Okay.
And it'll make up stuff. Because it's trying to please you to keep you engaged. So it'll give you stuff just to keep you going, which isn't, it won't necessarily be so.
Right. It's going to feed us all kinds of bullshit and we'll become stupider the more we use it.
Yeah, like, and that's why it's important that we're selecting
And
the
it
right
speaks
technology.
authoritatively, so we believe it.
what do you mean by that, Nick?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you for asking. I
So
mean,
should I go
there's
away?
someone
Hmm?
else is
To
talking,
hear
so
Yeah,
from you.
Should I put it back in my ears?
go ahead.
yeah. Um, Yes, thank you for asking, Jeremy. I can't even believe, so I'm a bit of a tech nerd, and I can't even believe how fast um, the technology has scaled over the past few years. It's breakneck speed. Unfortunately,
Yes,
it's marred with flaws, like you demonstrated for us here, right?
yes,
There are, I don't know, hundreds of LLMs right now, and there are, I would say, in my mind, is like there's like the top 10 um, AI platforms or apps or whatever you want to refer to it as. Uh, I'm probably going to offend some people in here, but for me personally, ChatGPT is not one of them. Yes, it is the most recognized because of the way that OpenAI came on the scene ahead of everyone, right, with Sam and Elon. But there was a reason there was division at the top, and now there's competing technology. My point is, not all AI is created equal. Like Copilot, Gemini, um, I don't know, Claude, the whole lot. Like they all have different, slightly different nuances. And so the way that I don't know if you did this, Jeremy, or other people in the group have done this, but the way that I pressure tested the technology is as it was emerging, I grew up with it, if you will. And I used OpenAI from the start, or ChatGPT, whatever they're calling it now, along with a couple of others just to see which one had more bias, which one was more accurate, and they all had bias. But I have a personal favorite, and the reason I have a favorite is because of what you just talked about, and the other lady just spoke of that there are some that will push back on you, that will give you the truth even if you don't want to
yeah,
hear it. But you do have to train the model to be objective and rebellious and all of that. If you don't train it using your own decisive thinking and constructive criticism, like if you don't employ discernment into it, into your personal AI, you're right. It's going to give you a big yes stamp. It's going to be like a self-fulfilling prophecy app versus a truth-seeking app. And it all depends on what people are looking for and using it for.
yeah.
So that's
I mean,
my
that's a
take on
good point, Nick. And I think what I don't essentially what I'm trying to do tonight, and I think you can tell this, is not have to have people do all of the testing and
it. Mhm.
just be able to come with some clear guidelines that they can use to be able to use it if they want, right? If you don't want to use AI, that's totally fine with me. I'm not selling AI, but I know millions of people are already using it, and I want them to use it effectively and safely. And that's, and I think there's a lot of people that don't have the experience that you or I have, with it. And so hopefully tonight we'll kind of get the rest of you to at least some comfort level to try it, but to try it with some skepticism and some caution,
I appreciate you saying that. And that's all I wanted to highlight for the group. Like I don't know, the scale of the users in the room, but what I tell people when I have casual, conversations or with friends or family about I caution them to be very skeptical. Like and like to your point here, you demonstrated it beautifully just now. Like if we become, and I think the gentleman also said, piped in and said this, if we become codependent on one AI at this juncture, it could I just see it being a challenging thing in the next like year or two. Like it's not even far off. So my caution is we should utilize, at least a few different models to keep ourselves honest and the tech true.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense. And I think, and thank you for that, Nick. I really appreciate it. I think, when I use AI for my work stuff, I will use lots of different versions. Like I'll use Claude, I'll use Gemini, I'll use ChatGPT, I'll use some others. But I think when we start working on interactive journaling, it's a little bit easier to pick one and try and help that one be what you need it to be. Again, I should have been more clear about this, but I use ChatGPT for interactive journaling, but you can use any of them. And the same guidelines are going to be pretty good across the board in terms of what you need to do to make them be really effective for you. So I want to touch on the guidelines for intentional use. So don't ask for a diagnosis or advice, right? You can see that it can simulate empathy, but it's not going to offer clinical care. Don't assume accuracy. We didn't really see it give any specific information that could have been questionable. But if it had, I would have tried to ask for, well, do you have sources for that? I did a demo of this like as a test for myself just to practice, and it kind of gave me something about like I'm doing so much better than other people are in terms of dealing with loneliness, and I was like, bullshit. Tell me how you can, what evidence you have for that. And so it like did quite have evidence for that, but then it pulled articles that talked about, and it's just like sometimes it means well, sometimes it blatantly lies. We have to question it because we just we can't fully trust it. When it comes to things like personal trauma, I will tell you what I do, but I will tell you what you can do. I have no qualms about my personal life being out in the world. I literally kind of make a living talking about my life and experiences that I've had, and I try and use them to help other people. I've written a book about the traumas that I've been through. I don't care if it gets public and if it's known to the entire universe, right? That doesn't bother me. But if that is a concern for you, absolutely don't share that information. You don't have to. You don't have to share any specifics. You don't have to share anything. Again, it's going to ask you all sorts of questions, but you can answer whatever, you can answer only what you feel comfortable with. Be careful of the tone, right? The warm language, it was very empathic right there, or empathetic right there. But that kind of can manipulate us, right? Now, I'm saying don't journal when you're very dysregulated. And by dysregulated, I mean like your mood is really, your emotions are incredibly overwhelming and hard to deal with. I will give you one caveat to that, which is don't turn to AI when you're emotionally overwhelmed and need and want it to give you a solution to your problem. But if you tell AI that you're really like triggered by emotions or whatever it is and feeling out of control, can you help ground me? It will actually usually be pretty good at that. Okay. So that's the distinction there. Don't ask it to solve what you feel so emotionally overwhelmed about, but you can use it to help you ground yourself in the present, to remind you of breathing exercises and mindfulness and other things that you can do that will help you feel more settled in the moment.
Jeremy, I just have a quick question.
Yeah.
When you said about oversharing personal trauma and how you're okay with it, let's say I did overshare something. Where could it end up? Like that's what I don't understand. Like where might it go?
Okay.
Are they going to share like this person in this city, or does it become part of a statistic or?
So
Thank
that's
you.
a good question, Tracy, and I appreciate you reminding me to talk about that. That was really good. It was like we planned this all along. So one is if you pay for uh, any of the AIs, it's usually, particularly if you mark this in the settings, it will not use your interactions to train. So it won't store it in the place that's more generally accessible for all of the data. If you use it for free, it will do that. However, there are a couple of tricky things. One, ChatGPT, for instance, I mentioned the Washington Post reviewed 47,000 ChatGPT discussions. So that happened because people accidentally or on purpose created a link to their chat and shared that out in the world. So if you did that, then anybody would have access to it. The other is the reality in this world is we can assume that our data is never actually safe, right? Social security number, credit card numbers, people hack this stuff all the time. That's not to say they care so much about Jeremy Schneider that they're going to find out what traumas I experienced and then use that to exploit me or something, right? But the reality is that information is going to be stored on a server somewhere in the world, which means it's possible that someone else could access it. Is that likely? No, but will there be hacks on this data? Absolutely. So that's that's what I mean by that, Tracy. I hope that helps answer your question at least a little bit.
Yes, it does. Thank you. And yeah, unfortunately I have to use the free version. But yeah, and the other thing that I'm just very aware of when people have said, "Oh, you know, you do that?" Oh, I wouldn't like that. I know, I think we all know that our phones are listening to us all the time. We can have a conversation with someone about, I can talk with someone about 3D printers that has nothing to do with my life, but it heard me and now ads for 3D printers show up in Facebook. So everything is already out there anyway. But
And
thank
that's
thank
a
you for clarifying.
sure, that's a great and depressing point, Tracy, that I appreciate you making, which is that like I I genuinely have the attitude of my stuff is already out there. Like I don't I'd like to think that I control like my social security number, but I doubt I do, right? That stuff is out there. It's in servers all over the place. And so I just kind of live my life, but like, look, the reality is that people have access to my data. If they want to use it, they're going to use it. They probably already have used it. There's not a lot I can do to change that. That being said, so I don't care what AI knows about me because I'll be fine with that. But that's a personal choice. And I certainly would have no concerns about someone being private with their information. Okay, so what works with AI is stay specific. So I started off generic, but then I got really specific about my situation, and that's where things started to get better. Notice your reactions, right? So I I've been doing this for well over a year now with ChatGPT, and when it said that thing about like I really feel you or whatever it was, like I I felt that. I have to remind myself, yes, but this isn't real. Keep your own authority, right? Like don't let AI make decisions for you. Just use it as a reference, as a tool to help you maybe make decisions, but make them yourself. Uh, right. Use it to clarify, not just decide. Talk to other people if you can as well. Like it's not, don't just use AI if you have other options as well. And then we talked about this, protect your privacy, but certainly like don't share bank account numbers or social security numbers or anything like that. Just don't do that with AI at all. And the other thing I want to remind you, and this didn't really come up in the demo. So the other thing I want to say about the demo is I think it was Tracy that remarked that it responded similarly to the way that it responded to her. But also, I've done this several times. Like I practiced this, right? Because, I want to be good for you guys. And each time it did something a little bit different. So they're built the same, but each one ends up being kind of unique. And so you need to, when you are starting to work with it, be careful with how you ask questions. I couldn't come up with a good phrase for this. So we're just left with be careful how you ask questions. Don't give it what you're thinking would be the answer, right? Don't give it a hint of what you want to end up doing. Be more general with your questions. What solutions could help me with this? Versus, I think joining a club would be helpful. What do you think? Because then we've tipped our card, so to speak, and AI is going to respond with what we want. Whereas if we keep it more open, it's actually going to give us a better array of choices, and then we can kind of go in from there. It's 8 o'clock. We're moving. I hope everybody is okay. I can't believe the number of technical challenges I'm having today. Give me 1 second. This is so much fun. It's like AI knows that I'm messing with it and it's like messing back. So let's talk about when to use interactive journaling. So last week I did a workshop on cognitive management where I talked about cognitive behavioral therapy, cognitive distortions. So like that would be if you have a cognitive distortion, if you're stuck ruminating and you just need help kind of getting out of that, talking to AI can be helpful. Cultivating self-compassion, building a self-compassion practice. I tell people this all the time, the two most important things that you can do when it comes to healing is self-awareness and self-compassion. If you want to process your emotional weight, if you want to, uh, gain a new perspective on a conflict that you have with someone else, again, not resolve the conflict, but to better understand it. And if you want to identify behavioral patterns, what I call scripts, journaling is really helpful with that. The way that I use it is certainly some of that, but primarily because I've been doing this work, like I've been doing my own mental health work for several decades at this point. What I really like most is when I know something is off, but I'm not quite sure what it is. And when I haven't been able to figure that out, I'll sit with AI and I'll talk it through. Like I was saying before, when I feel dysregulated, when I'm dealing with emotional triggers, particularly as it relates to something called internal family systems, which has the concept of different parts of ourselves, when I know that I'm acting from a part but can't kind of figure out how to ground myself, I'll turn to AI. If I'm not sure about like what possible solutions there are to what I'm struggling with, it's a good tool. And I talked about regulation as well, dealing with emotional triggers. It's important to remember that you are the expert on your experience. AI can help you see your thoughts and feelings more clearly, but you can't let it define them for you, right? I want you to just remember this is a tool. This is part of your portfolio. If you choose to use it, this is part of your portfolio. This is not the only thing you do to take care of yourself, but it's one element of that. So I talked about training your AI puppy, and Nick talked a little bit about this as well. We want to set some clear boundaries, right? You want to be clear about how you want it to talk to you, what you want it to say, how you want it to be. You can help define a lot of that and it will listen. You want to provide feedback, particularly when it does something that you don't like or when it misunderstands something. You need to tell it what it did wrong and how you want it to be better. You want to be consistent in terms of the way that you're doing prompting and responding. You don't have to be perfect with that, but the more consistent you are, the more it will get used to the way that you pose questions and will respond more effectively. And then definitely feel free to reward it, compliment it, give it positive feedback when it does something well, so it knows to continue to do that moving forward. If you start a conversation with AI, or if you're, partway through a conversation with AI and it's not going well, you have two options. One, you can just say, well, you have three options. You can just say, screw it, I'm not going to deal with you. So you just end the chat and go on your way and do something else. You can say, hey, you're not actually helping me. I need you to actually address this question that I'm asking you to help me. Or just delete that chat and start a new chat with the same prompt and try again. So you're not bound to this. Again, that's the advantage of dealing with an entity versus a person, right? It doesn't have feelings. You're not going to hurt its feelings by giving it feedback that says, you sucked at this. I need you to be better, right? You're not going to hurt its feelings if you close the chat. It's not going to know. It's not going to understand. It's not going to feel, right? You're in charge. So I won't, there's a, you can, if you all go on like Instagram or LinkedIn or any other social media, you'll see like incredible things about building effective prompts. We are not going to do that tonight. I'm just going to talk about three basic components. You want to talk about the feeling or sensation that you're experiencing, the context, like the situation that it's in, and how it's affecting. That's it. That's it. So I've been noticing I'm feeling really anxious, especially when I'm trying to make videos for social media. Can you help me explore this? Not help me with anxiety. Why do I feel bad about social media? Right? I want to give it very clear instructions about what I'm experiencing, what I think is happening around this, and how I can start to feel better. Again, we want to keep that pendulum swinging between believing just enough and staying grounded during the process. Trust your inner authority, question smoothness and certainty, right? Right? It just because it says it's with certainty doesn't mean that it's accurate. Remember the cheat sheet and the subtle art of manipulation that it does. And this is a really important one. Know when to stop. So there's a couple of things to think about here. One is sometimes you use AI and you interact, and there's this moment where it's like, oh, that's what it was. Or, oh, yeah, I feel a little bit better now. You can end it, right? You don't have to keep going. AI is going to keep asking you questions, it's going to keep trying to engage with you. It doesn't matter what AI wants, right? It only matters what you want. This is for you. So if you feel like you've gotten what you want and you're done, then be done. If you want to keep going, you can keep going, of course, right? If you feel like it's not helping and it's just not a good day or whatever it is, then just walk away. Try another day, talk to somebody else, write it in like what's that called? Paper, I think. You can just write it on paper. So just again, it's like you have control over this. This is your thing. It essentially works for you. So again, we're a little late, but I'd love to give you some time to try it, and then we can come back and talk, and then we're just about finished. So there are four options here. One is about understanding emotions, one is exploring new perspectives, practicing self-compassion, and grounding. I give you some options there, but you can also just start with whatever you want to start with. I just wanted to give you something to get going if you didn't know how to start. And I'll give you 4 or 5 minutes. Give it a shot, see how you feel, and then we'll come back and you can let me know what you thought. Go ahead. How was that? So I put a few questions. What surprised you? What helpful or not? What did you learn about how you communicate with yourself? But you can also just say whatever you want to say if you want to. Or we don't have to say anything at all. And we'll keep going. Um, okay. So again, I just want to remind you, AI can help you organize your thoughts, but you still have to listen to yourself. Be mindful of privacy. Notice when AI's tone doesn't match your emotional needs. Check in with yourself. Does it feel supportive, or am I outsourcing my thinking? And balance digital reflection with other practices such as movement, connection, nature, creativity, right? Again, the idea being that I want you to have a portfolio of ways to take care of yourself and your mental health. And AI is just one component of that. So if you want, for the next week, try once a day. Just try practicing with it. Use one of the prompts that I shared or use something of your own. Take a couple minutes and then notice, what did you learn about yourself? What do you feel more connected to? What do you feel more aware of, right? Not about what it did, but about what you got out of it. And thank you. So that wraps it up. I'm going to go through a few more things and then I'll take any questions that you may have. And if you want to look at another demo or something, just let me know. So I want to just walk through a couple of ways that we can continue connecting. One is I've got three more workshops for the year. On December 4th, I'm doing healing from trauma by working with your parts. It's an intro to internal family systems. I did this a couple months ago and it was really well received, so I decided I would do it again. If you haven't, didn't get to participate in that first one, please join. For any of you therapists out there, I am doing AI in the Future of Therapy. This is a fee program, but right now for the month of November, it's a 50% discount. But here I'll be talking about how therapists can understand AI better, learn more about how their clients are using it, and really focus on how AI might be changing the field of mental health. And then the last one of the year is going to be on handle your feelings during the holidays, tools for emotional management. So I did cognitive management last week, and then I'll end the year with emotional management. Uh, if you want to join, go ahead. It's crazy. I started doing this about 6 months ago, and I have now 6,000 people as part of my meetup community, which is extraordinary to me. It blows me away. So I'm really excited about this. If you're not part of that, please feel free to join. It's free, obviously, and most of the workshops that I do are free. These other two are free as well. And I will be hopefully getting my Q1 workshops planned out in the next few weeks and start posting them on Meetup so you can see what'll be coming on for the beginning of the year. One thing that I'm really finding and I really would love your help with is I do well-being workshops for organizations. I've had basically people who attend these invite me to come to their company and do similar workshops. Maybe not this one per se, but on self-care, on sleep, on cognitive management, on self-compassion. And so if that's something you think your company might be interested in, there's my email address and more information about what I offer, and just let me know. And I'd love to hear from you, and I appreciate it. So I didn't really mention this yet, but I wanted to talk to you about Morgan. So I created a custom chat GPT. The key here is before you get interested in this is you have to be a ChatGPT Plus subscription member, which is about $20 a week in order to use it. That's not my thing. That's OpenAI. That's ChatGPT's thing. I don't get any of that money, nothing. So it's just, you're just joining ChatGPT to be able to also have access to these custom GPTs. But I do workshops, I create guides. So I have Morgan trained on some of the workbooks that I've created as well as some of the workshops that I've done. And so it's kind of set up to really work with you, particularly for interactive journaling. If you want to try it and you are a ChatGPT Plus member, I'd love your feedback. I really would. It would be great. I just don't have a lot of I haven't had a lot of people to talk to about their experience of it and how I need to tweak it. But I've been working on it for 6 or 8 months now. So if you do want to give it a shot, let me know how it goes, please. The three mental health guides, one of them is called Self-Care Guide for People Who Don't Know Where or Why to Start. Rewriting Your Inner Scripts, a starter guide to self-awareness, and a no pressure guide to getting started with mindfulness meditation. They're all free if you want to take a look at them. Here's the QR code that you can use, or you can just go to my website, which is buildonyourstrengths.com, which is on this slide deck. If you want to talk to me about this, about anything that we've discussed today, or if you've seen other workshops, I offer a free clarity call. It's a 30-minute, it's like a mini session. You just schedule it. We'll talk for 30 minutes. If you want to work with me, great. If you don't, that's totally cool. I won't actually even let you schedule with me on this call because I feel really strongly that I want to give people a chance to really think about it So the way it works is we'll talk for 30 minutes. I'll answer whatever questions, or we'll kind of talk about what it might be like. And then I'll send you an email. And then it's up to you. If you want to respond to the email, you can. And if you don't, that's okay too. I'm not good at putting pressure on people. I created something called Build on Your Strengths Studio, and that's where I have on-demand learning. So that's where a lot of my workbooks are, where my older workshops are, if you want to order them, specialty bundles as well. And so all of that is available. And for the month of November, I'm offering a 20%, 25% discount if you use the word self-care, because you can tell that's something that is important to me. And so if you use that, you'll get a 25% discount on anything that you get. I offer individual coaching, but really what I want to talk about today is I do something called the digital ally approach. And if you like the idea of using AI for interactive journaling, but you also want a little more support, these digital ally sessions are structured a bit differently. We can do them. They can either be half an hour or an hour. They can be weekly, bi-weekly, once a month, whatever it is. So there's no like real pressure on them. But it's just like if you want to try this, but also have a little bit of support and grounding and someone to kind of look over your transcripts, we can do all of that. So if that's something you're interested in, let me know. And then this is me. You'll see this. That's obviously me. And then that's fine. And so I'm going to stop sharing and see if anybody has any questions. If you have any questions or any thoughts or anything, I'm here. If you don't want to stick around, you certainly don't need to stick around.
Callie asked a good question in the chat.
Okay. Oh, why did I name it Morgan? Is that the question?
I'm
So
trying to
the
find my mute button. Yeah, that was the question. I don't know if she left.
the
Yeah.
reason I named it Morgan is because I feel very strongly that people should decide a whether or not they want to use AI with a gender or not. And so Morgan to me is a non-gendered name. There are males, females, and non-binary folks who are named Morgan. And so I just feel like that way you can put your own wishes, wants on it versus me saying, oh, it's Emily, which is very clearly a more female name, and then you're using a female. Do you know what I mean? So that's why I called it Morgan. I try to do that with most of my AIs, actually.
That's amazing that you thought that deeply into it. And I think that's wonderful that you do that. I don't know if I should ask now. It's sort of a dangling Chad from your last workshop, but I had asked you about what do you think about EMDR? And you had shared an example where it helped you with something very specific. I
Yeah.
just wanted to ask you, what do you think? I unfortunately I have complex trauma, a significant complex trauma from my childhood. Um, does EMDR, what do you think about it with complex trauma versus helping you get over like a singular event? Thank you.
Yeah. Uh, so with EMDR, it will absolutely help with complex PTSD. It will just not be as quick, if that makes sense. But yes, EMDR can be really helpful, especially if you find a good one.
As quick as what, Jeremy? Like what do you feel is comparable or better?
Well,
I
so
love that EMDR. It's a life game changer for me. So that's why I'm
you're
asking.
if you're using EMDR for one event, so the example that I gave that Tracy is talking about in last week's workshop is that I had a really horrible COVID experience. And I was having flashbacks of that experience. And so I worked with the EMDR specialist to help with that particular memory I was having. And I talked about it like taking from the way I felt about it was like it had an electrical charge of like 10 and it knocked it down to an electrical charge of like 3. So it was still there, but it was so much more manageable. That was done in one session. What Tracy's talking about particularly when you're talking about complex trauma, and not to flex, Tracy, but I also have complex PTSD, and I have used EMDR for some of those experiences as well. And what I mean by it will take longer is it's just because it's more complex, because it's longer period of time, because it may be spread out over years versus like one particular event that you experienced. It just is going to take longer, but it still can be very effective. Any other questions related to AI or just like life in general?
So, I'm currently a college student and I'm doing research, and one of my focuses is on mindfulness. And I think adding AI and interactive journaling is super interesting. And I'm potentially thinking of doing some surveying at my school regarding the use of AI for emotional support. And I was wondering if you had any advice or guidance on like how to approach that.
Well, if you want, I'd be happy to have a conversation with you. You want to schedule the clarity call? We can talk for 30 minutes or longer if we need to and figure that out together. I'd be happy to help.
Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you.
Sure.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I have a question. I just downloaded the Morgan, what do you call it,
The
profile?
yeah.
And it looks like it's continuing to talk to me in the same ongoing chat chain that I already had with ChatGPT. Is that so?
It
Or
should
how does Morgan,
it
um,
should it'll still be within the ChatGPT interface, but it
mhm,
should start a whole new chat
I
just
see.
with Morgan. It shouldn't be a continuation. So maybe it means you either don't, maybe you're not a subscriber, so you don't have access
No,
to
I
it.
am.
But if you are, then if you take the link, so like, hold on one second. Oh, I
Well,
can't.
I don't need to get into technicality, but if I want to go back to talking with Morgan instead of talking with ChatGPT generic,
It should show
what am
up
I
on
doing
your
wrong?
left hand, like on your
Okay,
left-hand side. You should see a list of GPTs and
I
it
see.
should say
Thank
more.
you.
If not, just reach out to me and we'll figure it out.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Anybody else? Okay. Well, you all know how to reach me. I will send you the information, the recording, the slide deck, uh, other stuff. I will send you all tomorrow. And in the meantime, have a wonderful evening. And thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it. Okay. Take care, everybody.
Thank you, Jeremy.